Hello, everybody. And here we are. Looking if everything is all right for another live stream. And yes, here we go. So hey, everybody. Welcome to this Shortwave radio show, the Saturday edition. We are here on Saturdays every 2 weeks at 2000 UTC. And we alternate. One Saturday is the Shortwave show, and the other Saturday is the VHF UHF show. So I hope everybody's all right. And so this is a show about radio. We talk about radio. We are just geeks talking about our hobby, and a great gang of people that are just having fun and gathering together on this Saturday, April 13th, 2019. And of course, we're here to have fun, to entertain, and hope that you enjoy today's show. So this is my other side of the room, for those that are brand new to this. Yesterday I was on that side of the radios. Now I'm on this side with the SDR, the software defined receiver. So I hope that you enjoy today's show. We're going to tune the bands. We're going to talk about digital modes in the AM bands. Some people have been asking a few questions on that and what types of modes have I received on the amateur bands. So welcome aboard. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. We have a show every Friday at 2000 hours Universal Time. Every 2 weeks on Saturdays. Like I said, we alternate between VHF, UHF, and Shortwave. Hope you enjoy today's show. It's quite warm outside. We reached like almost 60 Fahrenheit. It's 15, 16 Celsius. It's very windy though, but it's a nice, beautiful spring day. Feels good to have a little bit of higher temperatures. And there's a lot of rain coming. Apparently we're going to have a lot of rain on Monday. So starting tomorrow night, Sunday. So Monday is going to be a stay at home, do YouTube videos, and listen to the radio kind of day, basically. So welcome aboard, everybody. My name is Gilles, and I'm located at Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I said it earlier, but a lot of people don't know where I'm located. So we are here, of course, to have fun. There's a beautiful chat room for people that want to join in, of course, and great people that are there to help and answer questions and just talk about radio. So cheers. First beer is a Blanche de Chambly, a white beer. Take care. Cheers. Richard Cook, 15 minutes early. Darn, British daylight time. Nice to have you here, Richard. Simplio, nice to have you here. Bobby Burgess from Morgan City, Louisiana. Matambali from Colorado. Nice to have you here. Yeah, the modulation on the International Space Station is horrible. I've not been able to decode really anything incredible. Radioactive. Carol, send me a couple of decodes that could be of interest. Here are his images that he decoded. So this is from Radioactive. So he was able to decode this, which is better than what I decoded, because I decoded crap. It was totally horrible. So that is actually better than what I did. So, it's one of those things that unfortunately they need to address. Very low audio on the International Space Station, unfortunately. Cosmic Lettuce, nice to have you on board. Pagemaster, hello there. Driver Film Shortwave, nice to have you on board. Matt, MDK2, nice to have you on board from Denver, Colorado. Amateur radio call sign is W0MDK or WA0080SWL is his shortwave call sign. And I have no ideas why my eyes are fixed on the handheld scanner on the right side. You know, there are these things sometimes that attract our attention. Zwalfucker, nice to have you here. Keith Logan, nice to have you on board. Jerry DX, hello there. Rough Duff McLeod, nice to have you on board. Yeah, it's nice to have you here also. Matt says, we're still getting the weak ISS week, but just found that I had the wrong antenna input on my RSP2 Pro selected. Yeah, but the audio is very, very weak. I got to pump up that volume really high to get any decode of images, unfortunately. PLF Radio, bonjour et bienvenue de la France. Toujours un plaisir. Brian Penny, nice to have you on board from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Nice to have you here. What else do we have? Mickey Delmage, nice to have you on board from Alberta. And he's got one eye on me and one eye on the hockey game. Douglas Perry, nice to have you on board. Randy in Riverside, California, nice to have you on board, my friend. Pretty cool. Rufus Newt, nice to have you here, Rufus. Always cool to have all the people from around the world showing up. And Manny CV, nice to have you here. Keith Logan, what we're going to listen to for today? We're gonna be listening to Shortwave and see what we can hear. And some amateur bands a little bit. Page Master from Moore, Oklahoma. He's KI5CWF. Nice to have you on board. Paul the Cat is sleeping in the bedroom for some reason. Yesterday was sleeping here. Now today is bedroom time. Mick, nice to have you on board, my friend. Cosmic Lettuce, nice to have you here from Arizona, I believe. What else do we have? Yeah, I had to crank up the volume. MMSSTV couldn't even automatically detect without pumping the volume high. W5KJL, nice to have you here. Past is Ham Extra. Woohoo! Now you are king of the hams. Rock Ristorante, nice to have you here. Risto from Sweden, SM0SBT in Stockholm. Pretty cool. Two software, Mick, that I use for decoding the SSTV. On PC, MMSSTV. It's really good. On Android, and I believe on the iOS, on iPhones and iPads also. Robot 36 does an okay job at decoding slow scan TV also. So there was a lot of stuff and one to listen to. I listened to last night. The conditions weren't the best, but they weren't too bad also yesterday, Keith. Callum, nice to have you on board, Callum. Jonathan Robertson, nice to have you here, KM4HOC. Rikrab, nice to have you here, my friend. Yeah, I think it's not the antenna that's the problem. It's really the audio. The driving of the audio into their gear is bad because it's really, really low. So, you know. At 08 UTC, I'll be sleeping, Simplio. 08 UTC is equivalent to 4 a.m. here in Montreal. So, I will be sleeping at that time, I can tell you that. Yes, Callum, I am fine. Thank you for asking. Jonathan loves the Bender figurine. Yeah, I like also. It's a gift, like kind of a Christmas gift coming from my nephew from several years back, I used to have my nephews used to come over, and I had all the DVDs for Futurama. So we would actually binge watch Futurama all evening, eating candy and drinking cola. And then they became adults, and it turned into binge watching Futurama on Netflix and drinking beer and eating chips. So it was kind of fun, you know. I guess I'm partly to blame for my nephew's love for Futurama, that I actually find as an absolute, really an amazing series. Futurama is something I love. Billy Laptop, nice to have you on board. Do you think the shifting magnetic field of the Earth is affecting propagation? You know, the place where, first of all, the magnetic field is moving at the poles, and it's moving actually quite fast recently, and it's actually departing the Canadian north, and it's going towards Russia. Now, does it affect propagation? Not much, because the distance is so small in reality that even though, yes, the magnetic field does have an effect with the solar wind, and in creating sometimes geomagnetic storming and so on, the movement isn't fast enough, the difference isn't, you know, from year to year isn't big enough to really make a big difference. So it shouldn't really affect propagation, except it might shift a little bit where the aurora actually arrives, because, for example, when the magnetic North Pole was in northern Canada, that means Canada was favored for viewing auroras. If it goes towards Russia, that will shift slightly the positioning of the auroras around the poles of the Earth. That's for sure, because they are magnetic lines that go through the magnetic pole. But on propagation, really not that much of an effect, actually. Juan Amigo, nice to have you on board, and thank you for the generous donation of yesterday. What else do we have? Jervision, nice to have you on board from St. John's, Newfoundland. Cool. We're getting all the Canadian provinces here. Really nice. Justin Mass, nice to have you here, my friend from Minnesota. And a lot of people are excited for the show. I get these emails from time to time of people, you know, telling me, oh man, it's like there's something special. I'm always happy, and you know, wanna, you know, I just can't wait every time there's a live show, and it's always a lot of fun. And it's fun to do also. I mean, if I wouldn't have fun here, I wouldn't be doing what I do, for sure. Simply always awake at 3 a.m. Central Daylight. Wow. Ronald Hester, nice to have you on board from North Carolina. I need my beauty sleep to be in shape for tomorrow morning's international radio report on CKUT 90.3 FM. Kevin Wood, nice to have you on board from Nova Scotia. Pretty cool to have you on, of course. Hey, we're already down. We're already at the bottom of the list. It's not like yesterday where it took 4 hours just to go down the list. Nice to have everybody here. What else do we have? Matt says, I love the Futurama when they went back in time and ended up being a flying saucer and alien scene in Roswell, New Mexico. Oh yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one. And Fry is actually his own Fry is actually his own father or something. It's like, okay. He tries to protect his dad, and he just like pushes his dad everywhere or something. Oh, grandpa, yeah, grandpa. Sorry. he pushes his grandpa everywhere, and it's like he sends his grandpa in a minefield. He's trying to protect him, but it's 100 times worse. His own grandpa. Yeah, Fry is his own grandpa. Yeah, that's it. Oh man, that's a great episode. I like the one when they stumbled in the time machine and they actually go up to the end of the universe, and actually they notice that when they're at the total end, it actually all restarts again. And when they come back the second time around, it's like, wow, that is weird. This universe is 10 feet lower than the other one. It's just I love Futurama as such amazing moments where, you know, if you're knowledgeable in science, if you're knowledgeable in you know, in movies and in world events, there's so much things that is just amazing in there. It's just crazy. I like the one also when they have it's a Halloween episode, and he's got that monkey's paw, and they declare world peace, and they throw away all of the guns, and the and the aliens come on Earth with just a club, and they're able to almost conquer the planet because we have no more guns to defend ourselves. Then somebody comes with a planche with a nail in it, and it's like, yes, one day they'll have bigger nails and they'll all end. There's so many great episodes of Futurama. It's just crazy. Okay, Jeff King, nice to have you here from hot Jacksonville, Florida. I have a friend of mine that is in Disneyland, and she was posting on Facebook how it really is hot in Florida this weekend. She was like, just like, you know, but actually she was nagging us because she was saying, it's really hot here. I hope it's hot in Montreal. Oh, no problem. Cool, Kevin. It's a Saturday show. You know, that's why I do the Saturday show from time to time, because it actually goes and get a different audience. There's the core, you know, fans that are here and are watching, but there's people that come on Saturdays that can't make it on Fridays, and vice versa. So it's kind of, that's why I like to do that Saturday show from time to time, because some people that just can't get in on the live show, at least on Saturday, sometimes can. Simplio, yes, CKUT does stream on 90.3. You can go to CKUT. I'm just going to post the link here. CKUT.ca. And there's a streaming button on the top of the screen. Or you can listen to the archives. You can listen to 3 months worth of shows if you want. And of course, it's me, Sheldon, and David. David doesn't show up here, so you guys don't know who that guy is. But Sheldon, that you guys have seen, and he is often in the chat room. It's 14:30 UTC. 14:30 UTC, and you can stream from the live show or listen to the archive. And it's a 30-minute show about radio, and it's a lot of fun. And it's a lot of fun because it brings my kind of, you know, when I was young, I always wanted to have kind of my own radio station and broadcast. And SKUT is kind of fun. It reaches that little thing inside me where, hey, you are on the radio in Montreal, you know. There's that 90.3 FM signal that all of the city can get. So it kind of reaches a little bit of my dream. And we talk about radio, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm actually very, very happy to be part of the show. Even Sheldon told me several times that he's got a lot of positive feedback since I've joined the show. And so I'm happy to be there. So where do I post my pics? I actually never post my pictures anywhere. I just do YouTube videos of the things that I receive, and that's it. Arthur's Elder Crafter's Kitchen, nice to have you on board. And some nice weather in Massachusetts before next rainstorm. Yeah, we're going to have a really big rainstorm. They're announcing that we're going to have like 50 millimeters of rain here in Montreal. They're actually scared because all the rivers, a lot of them still are kind of frozen, and they're afraid that all the rivers are going to like overflow everywhere. William, there's going to be flooding and all. William Helms, nice to have you on board from Florida. Tron Legacy, yeah, not bad. I saw that, William. Not bad of a movie. Johnny DXer, nice to have you on board. W3JMC from the Philadelphia suburbs. Really nice to have you on board. Oh, a single female lawyer. Yeah, Jonathan. Oh, God. It's just... and that Zap Brannigan, just crazy. Oh, man. Johnny DXer says it's nice to make it on Saturday show. Pretty cool. And what else do we have? Do I have any ghost stories, says Callum. I love ghosts. I love spirituality. I believe spirituality in true nature of reality. I don't necessarily believe in ghosts, but I do love ghost stories and I remember when I was young, when I was around 10 or 11, we had a neighbor that was an old couple, and they kind of didn't take care of the house really. So it was like maybe 3 or 4 neighbors down, and it was like, a real forest. Their yard was a big forest, and we were always passing by joking that there's been, we all had that story in our neighborhoods when we were young of, well, apparently there's, some people that died in that basement, or, we always tell the stories. And I was always the one that told stories. I was always like, okay, let's scare the hell of whoever. And there was a friend of mine, actually, that we used to go to school a lot, always together. We were always together, going to school, coming back to school, from school, and we would play together all the time. And he was scared as hell when it started to get dark. He was always, I don't know what happened in his life, that guy, but, I was like, every time it came dark, he was like, can you turn on a light? Or, he wasn't well, really, when it get dark. And I'd play with that. I wasn't nice. I played with that. We would pass in front of the house. And I would, of course, tell him the stories of, apparently some people died there. And apparently if you look real close in the basement windows, sometimes you could see the haunting faces of the dead. And he would get really scared. I remember one day he was alone, and I could see him from my home window, and he was passing in front of the house, and when he passed in front of the house, he started running. And I was like, okay, he's scared like hell of my stories. I wasn't nice, but it was just, I remember it today. It's just so funny. Hey, Mr. Cat has joined us. Hello there, Mr. Cat. Mr. Cat is here. Mr. Paul the Cat. Paul the Cat, for those that wonder who. Mr. Paul. I'm sorry if it's very bright from that side. It's like really sunny outside, and even though the shades are down, it's like kind of a little bit of overwhelming my camera. So I'm sorry about that. So, it was just a lot of fun. And one night, around 11, I don't know, I was about 11 or 12 years old. I was with 3 of my friends. And the old couple had gone away for a few days, and they forgot one of the basement windows open. So we had the terrible idea. Don't do that, kids. Okay, it's not a good idea to do that. But we weren't, doing anything. We weren't going to steal or anything. I did it just because I wanted to have, have everybody get a good scare. And we actually, around like 10 p.m. in a summer evening, we went down into the basement by the window. And we all went down. And all I had was a little flashlight. So we couldn't see anything except the little beam of light. And I would intentionally, push things that would sometimes fall on the floor just to scare the hell out of everybody. And I remember ending it, and I thought, okay, we're going to have a good ending here. I just screamed, "Oh my God, a ghost!" And I started running to the window. And everybody just freaked out totally. Man, what a good souvenir of that's one of the good souvenirs of my childhood. I was, but we didn't do anything bad. I mean, the next day, I actually did something good. The next day, I went back and replaced everything that I had bumped over to make sure that, everything's all right and that they don't think nobody's coming. And I actually, you could lock the window and close it and it would stay locked. I actually locked the windows and and closed it. I was a good kid. I wasn't there. I never stole anything. I never, I had no interest in that. It's like, why the hell steal, It was more for the fun of it, But I remember the next day I placed everything back and I actually closed the window. And I actually told him, not that we went inside their home, but I actually told him a week later when I saw them, I said, "Oh, I saw your window was open." So I took the liberty of, locking it and shutting it because I thought, maybe you could have, and they were happy. I mean, they knew I was a good kid. So, they were like, "Oh, you're such a good kid." I remember she came home one day and she said, "Oh, thank you for what you did." And I think she gave me like $10, which for when I was 12 years old in 1980, a pretty good amount of money. And I remember she gave me like $10 and she gave me like they were Italian. They gave me these Italian crackers of some sort. And I remember they gave my parents a bottle of homemade wine. And they were said, "Oh, well, Gilles is a good kid, and when we go away, we know that he looks at our house to make sure that everything's all right." But I mean, they didn't take care of that place. It was a forest. It was perfect for doing any type of ghost movies or horror movies. They could have filmed it there. It was perfect. It was that house on the street where, on the movies, you look at the house and it's like, yeah, that's a pretty scary house. Well, that house was like that. And it was just so funny. It was so funny. Paul the cat. So, and it was lots of fun. So that's my story column for the ghost stuff. I don't really believe in ghosts, but, there are things we don't understand. I think we just gotta, be open-minded sometimes. What else do we have? David Arden, nice to have you here. With the pirate flag is going to be on the other side. Next show, because I will alternate shows, this side and that side. The pirate flag will be back on the other side when I do shows from that side. So, because here it's kind of complicated. Here it's really, really complicated. Okay, let's try to find where I was. Let me go down. Yeah, 2 inches, 50 millimeters, about 2 inches. Absolutely, Matt. Rufus says 40 millimeters here, and we still have a deep snowpack. Yeah, here there's still a little, like on the in the backyard, if in where the sun doesn't shine, there's still some snow. So the simply of the show is the International Radio Report on CKUT. International Radio Report, and it's Sunday mornings, 10:30 a.m. local Eastern time. 14:30 UTC. Stephen Hayes, nice to have you on board, Steve from London. Radioactive is going to try the International Space Station pass over his area in Oregon. Cool. Matt says, I believe Zach Brannigan was going to be voiced by Phil Hartman, but he tragically was murdered before they started production. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Probably. I mean, that guy was really, really good. We want to see the ghosts, Jerry. The ghost at 29 megacycles. That's kind of interesting. Matt says, when I was in 8th grade, there was a regular substitute teacher named Mr. Madrid. He believed in vampires, and we could scare him talking about vampires. He once ran out of the classroom. Oh, man. Oh, man. Hey, Patrick Manny. Nice to have you on board. Anything else here? Everybody's happy to see you, Paul. Everybody. Yeah, that big signal there is right here. Radio Romania on 11850.
Strength to go over these critical moments. The third edition of the American Independent Film Festival
11850, Radio Romania.
First reformed by Paul Schrader, that got an Oscar nomination for Best Script, with Ethan Hawke and Amanda Seyfried in the lead roles, and Vox Lux by Brady Colbert, featuring Natalie Portman and Jude Law, were screened on Saturday. The festival opened on Friday evening with The Sisters Brothers, directed by Jacques Audiard, who also attended the opening. Until April 18, films selected or awarded at prestigious festivals such as Sundance, Toronto, Cannes, or...
So 11850, Radio Romania, pretty good signal. It's their new summer frequency, starting at 21:30. Was pretty good. Yeah, we'll be doing shows from the other side. I can tell you that, if that's possible. I hope shortwave propagation is good. Norman Hauser, nice to have you here, my friend. Man. What else do we have? Yeah, Central is 9:30 a.m. And you'll hear my voice, including the voice of Sheldon and David. David does mostly weather, just weather. David Orange says, glad you're on now. I'm stuck in the hospital after a bee sting. They are keeping me here for observation. Oh man, I hope it's okay. I hope it wasn't too bad, my friend. You're allergic, I guess? And I don't know. You know what? The funniest part is I have no idea. I've never been stung by a bee or a wasp or anything, ever. So, I was telling that to a friend of mine, because there's a friend of mine that has his EpiPen with him all the time, because if he gets stung, he just, like, you know, gets real, it really gets bad. And I was telling him, I said, I've never been stung. I don't know if maybe I could be allergic, and I have no idea, actually. So, I don't know. So I hope you take care, my friend David. Rufus, 11850, loud and strong in English. Simplio, 11850 weak here, but then again, my antenna isn't the best. Where are you located, Simplio? Oh, I forgot where you're located. F. Lassie, nice to have you on board from Oakland, California. Nice to have you here after a while. Pretty cool. So what else do we have? Oklahoma City. Okay, thank you, Simplio. Yeah, you're a little south and a little more to the west, so maybe it's not quite making it there also, honestly. So yeah, I've never been stung either, and I've had my share of being in places with bees and wasps and everything. And so I guess, I'll touch wood, because you got to say you never been stung to get your first sting, I guess. Norman Hauser says, "Wow, that's crazy. I get stung all this freaking time. Bees, hornets, wasps, scorpions, spiders, you name it." I probably been bitten by a spider once, but without knowing it, because I had a kind of a big. It was on the chest, so it's like probably when I was sleeping or something, and it became really big. I actually went to the doctor to see it, but it passed on its own after a couple of weeks. So yeah, get well. Capital City and Professionals, nice to have you here. KC7JDB, nice to have you here. Jeff, had a question for you. Just got my RTL SDR V3. Should I run any particular type of filters to block out any unwanted signals? If you have very strong FM stations or some VHF, UHF repeaters of some sort close to you, be careful not pumping the RF gain too high. One of the biggest mistakes of most people with an RTL SDR is they pump up the RF gain to the max because they think, oh, I want it to be as sensitive as possible. The problem is, it actually is the reverse. It overloads the RTL so much that you're just not getting any signals. So I would say the best thing is to be careful not pumping that RF gain too high. That would be the best and probably the most important trick that I would have to say on running an RTL SDR. For the rest, I don't think you need necessarily any filters, but just be careful and play with that RF gain, and you'll find that setting. That's probably the worst part of RTL SDRs, is finding the correct setting, honestly. What? They love to sting my butt. Oh man. What else do we have? Yeah, the RTL SDRs, they are better with an up converter. That's what the soft 66. That's the soft 66. More type of device, basically, with an up converter, which has its own shortwave reception. RTL SDRs aren't great for the shortwave part of the spectrum, I gotta say. Yeah, the audio is really, really down on the slow scan TV. John Pickney, nice to have you on board from Virginia, W3XWT. Nice to have you here. Yeah, the audio is very, very bad on the and they need to fix that on the International Space Station. Kevin Wood nearly got killed by a weasel. Wow. Wow. Symblio says RTL SDR blog V3 dongles has built in HF circuit for IQ branch, but the IQ branch does not have Doesn't have variable gain. Gonna have good antenna for it. Wow. Take care, PLF Radio. À la prochaine, à vendredi prochain. Toujours un plaisir. Medina Mike, nice to have you on board from outside Buffalo. Cosmic Lettuce got an RSP2 Pro for work. Running SDR Uno. Doing antenna research and development. It's coming in handy. Cool. Cool. I have a lot of fun with that, and it's a great, pretty good device, I gotta say. Take care, Jonathan Robertson. The RSP is great. Even the basic RSP 1A that I have here is just amazing. For the price, it's just amazing. So, what else do we have? So we got a strong signal from Romania, 11850. Let's see here if we have any other interesting signals around there. So there's something here. So we've got Brazil on 11780. Not very strong, but it's there.
And the Special European Council on Brexit.
Pretty good signal from Spain on 12030. Not super strong, but it's listenable. The BBC via Ascension Islands on 12095. BBC 12095. So Radioactive says the SPAS was not very good. Very hard to get the audio loud enough without overdriving the software. Yeah, that's the problem. The problem I got was the signal was there, but it was a little noisy. So when I would pump the volume to get the audio of the SSTV image, it would also pump up, of course, the volume of the noise around it. It was almost impossible to decode. Barely had to decode. Simplio says 12030 good here with fading. Norman Hauser, what do you think about hack RF? I'm thinking about going that was as opposed to heavy gear receivers and so forth. I don't have a lot of experience or knowledge on the hack RF, honestly. Maybe somebody else could help Norman on the hack RF. How is it? Medina Mike says Romania strong. And what else do we have? Problem with RSPs is that once you get one of those, you don't want to use an RTL SDR at all after the performance you get on the RSPs, because you immediately see that it's in a completely different place in the scale of what's of these devices actually. Let me just check here. We have pictures received. We're going to check out what it looks like. I tried the ISS twice today, and forget it. But I did have amazing reception of the A092, A091. Amateur satellites. So that was kind of cool. So let's check out the images from the past from our friend Radioactive. So this is what it looked like for Mr. Radioactive. Oops, let's put it. So, noisy because of the, it's sad because the signal's there. If it would be louder, I mean, we would have had amazing decals. I would have had beautiful pictures with the passes today, but unfortunately the sound level is so low on the International Space Station. It's just bad. Rufus Newt says 12030, decent fading. Simplio says, got the new Elec SDR Smart and the Flight Aware Pro orange dongle. They do great for trunking radio stations 850. Cool. David Arden, BBC used to transmit from on 12095 from the UK. I have that old feel of the 80s lately, because 7300 from 0 to 01 comes in quite well here, and it's fun to have the BBC in prime time eastern coast of North America coming in well, and it's actually from Wolverton UK transmitter too, which is kind of nice. Oh, the ACRF, yeah, okay, it's a transceiver. Yeah. You got it, Jerry. Make videos. Show Norman Hauser the ACRF stuff. Oh, for sure. The RTL SDR works with almost every type of software. But I'm going to tell you, I'm not using my RTL SDR anymore at all with the RSP1A. And once you start using SDR Uno, I have to say I love SDR Uno. It's very customizable, and I ain't using any other software. SDR Uno is great. I will set up my RTL SDR with something. I want to do the digital scanning stuff. So with DSD Plus and everything, so I want to try that, and I'll use my RTL SDR for that for sure. That's for sure. Simply, yeah, Mighty KBC this evening. So it's hope it's going to come well. Absolutely. Frederick Montelius, nice to have you on board. Yeah, I think there is that Yuri Gagarin stuff. Let me just check it out again here. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised it would be, because it's isn't it 58 years today that Yuri Gagarin was in space? Like, yesterday? It was the beginning of April, I think, or at least the month of April, if I'm not mistaken. So that would kind of explain that it's Yuri Gagarin, probably. Oh, that's for sure. Kevin Wood. RTL SDRs are great for ADSB. I use an app on the tablet and on my phone, which is, I believe, called ADSB. So Avari as the ADSB with the RTL SDR driver in Android, and you can actually see the map and see the planes. It's really, really nice on the devices. Matt says 13650, fair but clear in Denver. Let's try 13650 here. 13650. Wow, nothing here. 13650. 11850. Oh, it's dropped also. What happened? I ain't hearing Romania anymore. Weird. This is weird. The antennas are okay. I am getting the different stations. Weird. Oh, it's back. No, it's not. Oh, it's gonna drop or something. That's weird. Lost Radio Romania. Frederick Montelia says, we'll stick with earthly shortwaves. Page Master says, SDR Player SP1A does have more functions you can use to play around with one on the frequency you're receiving. Daryl 1903, hey, when is Solar Cycle 25 going to be here? N5SHI. We still have a stretch of low solar activity, because the latest report on solar activity that came out seems to point that we will continue having minimum until possibly the end of next year, 2020. And after that, it's going to start slowly ramping up. They're expecting that we would have the solar maximum, next solar maximum, somewhere like in 24, 25, somewhere like in that range. And they're expecting it to be pretty much the same strength as cycle 24. So, and we're still going, we're in that solar minimum period right now, and it's going to continue for at least another year. Okay, the carrier's back for 11850 for some reason. Something happened at Radio Romania. It's totally gone. So another year, at least another year to go before maybe we're going to start seeing a slow ascent of the solar cycle again. Matt says, I'm bummed about the ISS because they're running different images for a change. The last several campaigns all had the same old stuff. Yeah, and it's really bad. You know, maybe they're going to do another one because everybody's going to complain. And maybe they're going to do another one. So, you know. But cycle, cosmic lattice, we're in a mix, because solar cycle 25, we already had some sunspots from cycle 25 appear on the sun. But we are in the minimum, and it's going to take time before it starts getting back up again. But we already have seen some spots from cycle 25. I know the big spot that there is right now in the sun is still a spot from the old 24 cycle. But we started seeing spots for 25, so it gives us an idea that we're getting there, but it's going to take some time. So Cyberflyer1, nice to have you here. Hey, VA2XMX Petro, nice to have you on board. Good to see you. Been a long time. Yeah, my TKBC, I think, is still in 5960. I think they kept 5960 kilohertz for that 100 hours UTC. If we weighted the two methods, SDR and hard transceivers, what's the difference? Well, mostly because SDRs have that visual appeal of being able to see everything, where a regular transceiver is, you know, you don't see as much information. You don't know what's everywhere around the frequency you're tuned to, for example. So there's a lot more information in an SDR than in a regular transceiver. John Pickney says, friend works and I got good SSTV from the ISS. A friend of work and I got good SSTV from the ISS on a Baofeng HT. My smartphone in the parking lot work at lunch. That's kind of cool. Our VP and general manager saw us doing the experiment. She was impressed. It is. It's everything to be impressed. I mean, I remember having somebody that was watching what I was doing once and asked a few questions. I said, well, I'm listening to a satellite that's coming over, and there's like, that just amazes anyone. Just tell anybody that the signal you're getting is from a satellite that's just over you, and it's really amazing. 12th April, Gagarin flight and first space shuttle flight. Oh, it's the first space shuttle flight too. Wow. Crazy. XL290, nice to have you here, says 12th of April is Cosmonautics Day. Yeah, Matt, I was right. April 12th, 1961. The day that the Russians have shown that they can do things. You know, it's funny because when you go back to that time, you know, like there's the Sputnik, which was what, 1957 or something, and they were first, and you know that flight with Yuri Gagarin they were first, which really scared a lot of people. You know, I don't think that there's a lot of people in the United States that were kind of, what the hell, they're the first ones to do this, you know. And it showed that they had some possibilities there. And of course that made the space race. And honestly, you know, it's a big war thing, but the space race was kind of nice, you know, ending with the first man on the moon. I mean, that was just so cool. Just gonna check something here because I see my cat eating something that I don't know what it is because there's no food here, and at the same time I think he wants to maybe go out. So I'll just 2 seconds, guys. What are you doing? So here we go. I don't know what he was eating, but he saw something on the floor that he thought was good, which should not be because there shouldn't be food on the floor here. So anyways. Anyways. Frederick Montelius. Yeah, you know, the space travel was, you know, it was a political thing. They put the money into it and they did it. Today there's just no money. It's like there's no appeal, you know, for some reason a lot of people think it's boring. You know, I have a friend of mine. I remember a friend of mine that went to school together. And when they showed the images of Pluto with the New Horizons spacecraft, that cost a couple of billions. That was an expensive one. And I remember she posted on her Facebook wall, "What a waste of money." And I remember I posted back, "It's not a waste of money. It's knowledge of different things. It's knowledge on how to go to space. It's knowledge on the robotics and all the electronics and knowing, you know, what it looks like. What does Pluto look like, actually? There's a lot of knowledge and information in there for all of us." And I said, it is not. I said it's sad that a lot of people think like that. Because you know what? The Earth is not eternal. The sun one day will start bloating when it starts running out of fuel, And we'll need to move out and go somewhere else because we won't be living on Earth in a long time. I know it's going to be a long time from now. But we got to think about it and we got to do something about it because, or else what? Well, the human race is just going to disappear and we were here for a while and that's all, you know? And it's sad because not just space exploration, but science in general. Man, I don't know. There's so many people that just, you know, science is like crap. It's like, no, it's not. You know, you're living a good life today and you're living to your 50s and 60s and 70s because of science. You know? One of my school friends, she became a nun. And I remember telling her, I said, well, you know, if you live to 60 today, it ain't God that's helping you. It's science. Science is helping you. Science makes you live longer because we cure diseases and we do things that you know, just 100 years ago, just the average, you know, of people living was so much lower. The age they would die was young. A lot of people died young 100 years ago because there's nothing. You got to think about that, and people don't realize. People don't realize that their technologies, the smartphone that they have, has amazing technologies in here. There's so much technology in here that is truly amazing that 50 years ago they would we would not have had that, you know. Okay, Jerry X, I hope Captain Dave comes back. Heard on 80 meters that the FCC took away his license. Yeah, well, he was kind of doing something that's not very amateur, like, I don't know. Norman Hauser says, I think SDR have more control and a better way to view the spectrum than in Yaesu. Absolutely, absolutely. That's why a lot of people like the SDRs, the software-defined receivers. Matt says 13650 just got out. I guess both did. Oh, okay. Romania gone. Something happened at the transmitter site. Patrick Manny felt sorry for Laika, the Russian space dog. Yeah, you know, it is sad, but you know, it ain't worse than having the animals in the medical field that we got to test on because it's the only way we can really, you know. As Simplio says, as long as there are signals, why worry about this solar cycle? John Pickney. Well, the latest report from scientists that came out about a week ago says that the next solar peak is going to be pretty much the same as the one we had on 24, which is a week cycle. But they said that that was the end of weak cycles, that after that the other cycles would start getting stronger again. So Kevin Miles, nice to have you on board, says darts canceled for tonight, taking in the Shortwave show after getting a lot of great tips and info from watching your Shortwave streams. Cool. Cool. I don't know what they did with Laika. I heard so many things. I heard that, you know, she just died because of lack of oxygen or whatever. I heard that they had some way of kind of, you know, putting her to sleep. We don't know. You know, they just put a dog up, and they know he wouldn't come back. So they, you know, whatever they did. You know, I would hope that they did something so that the dog doesn't suffer and realize that, you know. But for the rest, Ray Lyle, nice to have you on board from Southern Illinois. Bobby Burgess says KBC is still on 5960 tonight. Cool. Matt says one of the big appeals of SDR is that they have a lot of the same range and capabilities as rigs that are 5 to 10 times as expensive. Absolutely. I mean, the RSP-1A is just amazing when you think about the price of that device and the range, and not just the range, but how amazing the device actually performs throughout that range. I mean, it's a cheap way to get a good radio. You know, yes, I get an edge with my ICOM here. I get a little more of an edge, but man, it's very surprising what you get. Cool, David. Go home and take care of yourself, and glad to be in the live show and keeping you from being bored. There's nothing worse than waiting in a hospital. It's just so darn boring being in an hospital. Norman Hauser, I put ice cubes in my beer. You know what? I actually did that. I do that with my wine. When somebody gives me wine, I like wine cold. I don't care if it's red or white wine. I want the wine to be cold. And when somebody serves me a red wine, kind of almost room temperature, I actually put ice cubes in it. I actually like it like that. So who cares? I know some of you out there are going to cringe. You're going to say, "Oh, really? You do that?" Hey, that's my thing. What beer today? So this says John Pickney. Blanche de Chambly is the first one, which is a white Belgian type ale. And I'm almost done now, so I will, of course, take beer number 2. And beer number 2 is a gift from God, a don de Dieu, which is a triple wheat ale. Extra strong, 9%. So that one's going to put me in party mode. And here we go. So, there we go, guys. Nice, beautiful beer. This is actually a very, very good beer. For people that, you know, a lot of strong beers, 9% beers are kind of harsh when you actually taste them. This one is actually quite good. You don't have the impression of actually drinking a 9% ale. So cheers, everybody. Beer number 2 at the 1 hour and 7 minute mark. Bro Weaver, nice to have you here, says, so why does WWV stay on the same frequencies and not seasonally switch? So I think Global 24 would have worked since WWV does not change the schedules. Well, no, and here's the difference. So Global 24 was on one frequency, 93.95. And that frequency cannot be used 24 hours. It's not a good idea. You would have had a revolving schedule of changing frequencies. WWV is on different frequencies. That's why. WWV is on 2.5, 5, 10, 15, 20, and even 25 megahertz. So in the nighttime, you tune in the low frequencies, 2.5, 5, sometimes 10. In the daytime, you'll have the upper frequencies, 15, 20, 25 if propagation is really good. So they don't need to change because they have multiple frequencies. So you just choose the one that you hear depending on the time of day. Where Global 24 was on just one. And you can't have a 24-hour frequency on shortwave, really. At the best, they should have chosen the 25 meter band, which would have been possibly better than 93.95 in the 31 meter band. But still, you can't. You know, that's why WWV is on different frequencies. So that you can, depending on the time of day and propagation, choose the frequency that's best for you. So that's a big difference. Norman Hauser says it's well over 80 degrees and my fan just broke today. That's a bummer, you know. when it gets hot and your air condition doesn't work or the fan doesn't work. Daryl 1903, 20 meters, 17 meters open all over the world in the night. Yesterday evening, we tuned on the Yesu here. We tuned that French station from southeast part of France, 20 on the 20 meter band, 14 megahertz, and it was. I mean, the sun was setting here. It was dark in Europe, and I mean it's that time of year where I think part of the signals are probably going over the pole. Remember that the North Pole is starting to get illuminated by the sun now. That means the ionosphere over the North Pole has a minimum of ionization that's constant. And that's why the 20 meter band, honestly, in the summertime, is 24 hours almost here in the northern parts of North America and Europe. Because stations can actually send their signals over the pole. So you have a lot of Europeans using that trick, broadcasting over the pole towards North America in the middle of the night, and you get all of these signals from everywhere. So it's kind of nice. But did that Israel lander crash on the moon radioactive? I remember seeing that it was supposed to land, but I did not see anything else, so I didn't know if it crashed or not. Norman Hauser, you caught a mouse? No, I've never seen mice here. I don't know what was on the floor, but as long as I don't have to go to the vet again. Pagemaster, STS-1 Space Shuttle Columbia lifted off April 12th, 1981. The first Space Shuttle mission. I remember being in front of the TV and watching the Space Shuttle lift off. I remember it was in the mornings. The 12 UTC was 8 a.m. I remember waking up early to watch the Space Shuttle, the first Space Shuttle launch, and thinking how cool that was. And I remember the Challenger disaster because I came back from school to eat. It was around noon. I came from school. My school was really next to where I lived, and so I would go home to eat for dinner. And I at lunch, and I remember coming home at lunch, and my mom looked at me and said, "Oh, the space shuttle blew up," because she knew I liked the space stuff, and I liked the space shuttle. And I liked all of the space exploration stuff. And I remember coming home, and she just looked at me. She said, "Oh, the space shuttle blew up today." And I was like, "Oh, wow, really?" And I remember having that weird feel. That weird, it was kind of bizarre. I remember going back to school in the afternoon, kind of half there, you know. Bobby Burgess says Cuba on 11/8/50. Pagemaster, yeah, the New Horizons, fastest space probe, absolutely. The Voyagers were very fast, but New Horizons is faster. I do believe it's faster. It's the fastest probe we ever sent out. Okay, Patrick Manning, the Moonlander lost its kippa, and why it crashed. Oh man. Buy more ammo. Hey there. Medina Mike says the PC we are on would not happen as fast as it did. Absolutely, science is everything. So, you know. John Pickney says, I remember when you dressed up to take the airline trip. Now airports make Walmart and Dollarama, Dollar Tree look upscale. Price of commonality. Yep. Mick says, science did it for me, Joe. I had a brush with the Reaper at 59. Absolutely. Simply likes his smartphones, both Androids. John Pickney says, Apple 11 had the computing power of Commodore 64. Yeah, even less. Even less. Even the Commodore 64 was probably powerful. I mean, and there's so many people. I like the when the Apollo 13 movie, when you see and it's truly what was happening back then. When something was happening, there were tons of people with their pens, making all of these calculations on paper and double checking to make sure that the numbers are okay. And it was just so crazy. Biomore Ammo, I don't have a Facebook page for official Shortwave channel because I don't want to compete. I get this all the time, people saying you should have a Facebook page for the stuff you do. Problem is there's a lot of Shortwave pages, and one of the things I don't want is to compete with the other ones, because I do realize if I do that, I will unintentionally compete with some other channels on Facebook, some other pages that deal with Shortwave, and I don't want to do that. Instead, what I do is I will post when there's live shows on some of the Facebook groups because they let me do it. And out of respect, I'd say I will not do a Facebook page. I'm already quite popular here on YouTube with that Shortwave channel. I don't want to brush somebody's feelings by creating some Facebook group or something. I leave that to the others that have great groups. Anyways, Fanny Xenakis, so strange NASA has lost the technology to go to the moon again. How is that even possible? Well, they didn't lose it, but it's just that I mean, the money's in there, so and I guess the money is going to be. Put into the SpaceX stuff, which is the privately owned, and their SpaceX is doing well actually for private space exploration. So maybe that's the way to go for the future. Bro Weaver, any news on WBCQ Flat Earthers transmitter? Okay, yes, we do. I was listening to Alan Wiener last night on 3265. He's hoping that in about a week's time, they will actually fire up 500 kilowatts on 9330 kilohertz. So in the next couple of weeks, there could be some news about that. John Pickney, what's the best PC to run an SDR on? Desktop, laptop? I'm thinking RFI. You know what? I am running the RSP1A on a HP desktop and on my Toshiba laptops, and I got surprisingly very little noise out of them. I think it all runs down to how the PC is built. It's not much of a laptop versus desktop thing, but more of a finding the laptop or the desktop that creates the least amount of noise. I think that's more of what you got to choose. The advantage of a laptop is that you can run it on batteries also, which often lowers the noise quite a lot when you run on batteries. And it kind of puts your SDR kind of in more of a portable way of doing things, My Toshiba laptop is absolutely quiet. Absolutely quiet. With the original power supply, it's amazing. I've got two Toshiba laptops. Both are very, very quiet. I plug the power supply and look at the waterfall, and I don't see a difference. I don't even see a minimum of noise in it. Oh, Matt, absolutely. Last time I was to an emergency room here, I spent 10 hours waiting. 10 hours before the doctor saw me. I can tell you one thing. Having this and going through the internet and playing games, wow. I could not, I would have, gone like, like 10, 20 years, 30 years ago when we had nothing. I would have gone nuts, 10 hours waiting. I can tell you that. Oh, man. Fenix Xenakis just says, in ancient Rome, people who drank wine without 50-50 water were considered morons and idiots, redneck types. Really? A good Roman always poured water into their wine. Well, that's where that saying comes from. We have a saying. I don't know if in English it works. In French, we have a saying that says, pour water into your wine, which means before you say something, relax the way that you think, Relax that way of thinking and saying things, and make sure that you will actually give, a better meaning. Don't react immediately to something. And it's kind of meaning halfway, if you want. When in French we say mettre de l'eau dans son vin, pour water in your wine, which is a saying that means meet me halfway. Just don't just stay in your own way of thinking. Ray Lyle says, I struggle with the decision to buy my ICOM ICR 8600 because I have the AirSpy HF Plus in RSP1A, but I'm going to get one. May not get another chance. Think about the fact that if you want it and you find that it's a great radio, and I'm sure once you get it, you're going to find it really, really cool. Everybody that has one, is happy with his decision. It's a lot of money. That's where, I would weigh take that amount of money and the other stuff that you could buy and get multiple stuff for the same amount. But if you want it, if at your heart you want the ICOM, So be it, William Helms, wow, agnostic yet drinks gift from God. Yeah. Alex Champion, nice to have you on board. M6IXY. Nice to have you here, Alex. John Pigney says, I have a bottle of Grower's Cider waiting to go with my supper tonight. I actually have a bottle of red wine for supper tonight. I'm going to make steak and on the barbecue for the first time of the season. And I've got a bottle of wine. And what I will be doing is setting up my portable receivers like the XH Data in the kitchen. And tuning around while cooking the steak, and I kind of like it. I put the radios in the kitchen, listen to some signals, listen to some stations, and just slowly cook food, drink a little wine. Kind of a fun Saturday evening, type thing. Girolamo Savonarola, nice to have you on board, Turf, in Finland. Nice to have somebody from Finland. We've got Risto in Stockholm, Sweden. We've got, I believe, Rufus is from Norway. Nice to have the Nordic countries joining Canada. Pretty cool. Radioactive says he's receiving San Francisco air traffic control on 11282. Pretty cool. Kevin Wood, cooking dinner, not so easy to participate. Yeah, it's not, you just watch. Just watch. And that's it, Mikhail Almash says, watch the Israeli lunar landing live stream. Yeah, it's sad. It would have been nice if they've been, It just tells us one thing, that even after, 60 years of space exploration, we still haven't, it's still a complicated thing. It's still very complicated. Well, actually, Frederick Montelius, I believe it went in orbit around the moon for a while before it actually went down. So they kind of probably, I don't know, maybe they kind of took pictures and stuff and before they did the actual maneuver to get down on the moon. Ray Lyle says, can listen to Radio New Zealand now, well past midnight here. Summer propagation really starting to be noticeable. Yeah, and the solar flux is higher. So what's happening is that some of the stations are coming in pretty well right now. We're not quite yet into summer propagation, but it starts starting to feel like it though. But we're having the solar flux is around 80. It's a little higher than usual for solar minimum. No, Kevin Wood, Call Israel is not on shortwave anymore. They left a long time ago. It's funny because here we have a station on 1650 kilohertz AM that has different language. It used to be a Jewish community station, and now they seem to have different communities there. But at noon, they actually have the Call Israel news bulletins in French and English, 15 minutes each, which totally reminds me of when I was listening to Call Israel on shortwave. Yeah, well, you guys in the U.S., there was something special about that for school because there was the Challenger shuttle had the first teacher in space. She was actually supposed to teach a class from the space shuttle, I believe. So you guys and everybody in school in the U.S. probably was looking at the space shuttle while it exploded. Pretty crazy. Cosmic Lettuce says, had to swing it around the Earth several times to pick up enough speed. Oh, that's why they took so much time. They didn't have enough speed. Okay, so they took advantage of the gravitational pull to make it a little faster. Don Pigney says, saw the Challenger disaster on the CNN monitor in master control. Needless to say, we immediately went to air with it. Absolutely, I guess. Rufus, I was repairing equipment in a local TV newsroom when Challenger exploded. Teletype and faxes went nuts. Yeah, I guess. Frederick Montelius, good not to engage in Facebook battles. People get upset. And I already got my tons of upset people with the YouTube channel here. I don't want to have more upset people. Honestly, Simplio says WTWW5085 is a fan base group on Facebook. Oh, check it out. I like their music in the evening on 5085. It's kind of nice to have a... reminds me of WRNO, the Rocket World, when in the 80s, listening to rock music on WRNO. It's kind of nice to have some decent music coming out of WTWW in the evening. Yeah, 13840 for New Zealand, and then 9630 after midnight. Frédéric F4CA, bonjour et bienvenue de la France. Nice to have you on board, Frédéric. F4ECA. John Pinkney has his late grandfather's wooden slide rule from his colleague days at Clemson. He tried his best to teach me how to use it. Yeah. I remember one time somebody showed me how to use one of those, and at the moment it was like, oh, okay. And then, you know, you don't use it, and like 2 months later I saw it, and I was like, I don't remember how this works. By more ammo, perhaps you heard me call to Alan Wiener Worldwide last night. I am known to the WBCQ family as Rabishu. I've been listening since the end of the 90s. It's possible. I remember I remember a couple of guys calling in. Were you the guy that was kind of saying what's happening, or what? Was it you? Because I don't know which one was what, but I think the first call was like, oh, what's happening, and so on. Tony Perron, nice to have you here, Tony Perron. Running Satellite 6001, yeah, that was yesterday. It was a nice radio. Yep, running SDRs on tablets and stuff and on laptops does chew up on the batteries. Absolutely. Mick says 86 watching, only 28 thumbs up. What's happening? Hey, Robert Prosper, nice to have you here. Oh yeah, the emergency room is just so darn hell place, absolutely. Radioactive. Speaking of laptops, are there decently powerful laptops that can be charged on 12-volt supply in case of mains power goes out? Honestly, most laptops run on very unique power. You know, like the Toshiba here, it's actually running on a 19-volt power supply, which is kind of an odd, weird, you know, power. But I guess the way to design it. The best that I would say that you can have rather than a laptop would be a tablet, because a lot of tablets are actually into that USB-C charging thing, and some laptops, by the way, some new laptops are actually on USB-C charging, which means as long as you've got the proper powering of USB-C, which is 5 volts, you can actually charge them. So all you need is something that, like, you know, a big battery pack or something that runs and can charge the device. But a tablet would be a possibility. Mark Fisher, which portable would you recommend between the Texan 660, 880, or new XH data? That's a hard one. I gotta tell you, that's a hard one. I would, let's say that I got nothing, and I gotta get one radio, and I have all 3 of them in front of me. I would possibly go with the Texan 880. Ease of tuning, good radio. The reason why I would go with that is it's kind of slightly better than the 660. And the XH data is really nice, but the AGC flaw in single sideband makes it sometimes kind of bad to tune around, even though it has such flexible tuning. But they're you know, the XH data is pretty good too. But I would probably go with a Texan 880 rather than the other ones. Yeah, no, I remember the Columbia reentry. I remember the Columbia reentry because I was tuning around the TV channels. And I remember seeing something about somebody posting somebody was filming, and they were showing the pictures of somebody filming over Texas or something, and seeing all the little parts of, like, something was wrong with this. It was obvious something was wrong with the space shuttle, and I continued kind of, watching it. It was like, okay, something is wrong here, and it was very sad, absolutely. That was actually in April. Wasn't it April 1st or something like that? It was in April also that it happened. I believe it was in April that the Columbia re-entry disaster. Michael Netz, what about Brother Stair? Well, he's all over the bands. He's still there. I don't know what's happening with his court stuff with all the problems that he's having. But man. But if you have a choice, absolutely, it's true that the Challenger disaster probably has the #1 spot, even though the Columbia disaster is there, and it's terrible what happened. Oh yeah, that was one interesting one. Frederick Montelius, the Mars probe that crashed because they instead of putting metric, they put in imperial system measures, so it actually hit the ground rather than stop at a good place. John Pickney is seriously considering buying an SDR as my Christmas gift to myself. Going to put in a sloper. Number 24 magnet wire, so that it will be as anonymous as possible. I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with an SDR. Yeah, absolutely. I always have a laugh at when people talk about the Apollo missions, because when they talk about the moon landing, I remember my mom telling me that when they landed on the moon, because that happened in July, and I was born in March of '69, so I was just a few months old, and my mom told me, well, you kind of saw it. You were you weren't in the living room couch when it happened, and we were all watching it on TV. And I always laugh and make everybody laugh, saying, I remember the moon landing. I was a few months old, but I remember like it was yesterday. So I saw it. It's just my brain doesn't have any information about it. Oh, man. Free Saxon, nice to have you here. John Pickney says, remember what a big deal it was in the shortwave community when Call Israel started broadcasting in the U.S. to the U.S. in the late 60s. Yeah. Yeah, the teacher's name, Sharon Krista McAuliffe. Yep. Oh, you were the guy right after that fella? Okay, bye, Morama. I'll remember that. I'll know it's you. Because I listened to it, I listened to all the show. So I heard you, that's for sure. I don't know how many times I almost called Alan Wiener just to let him know that I'm listening from Montreal. Yeah, Jeff K is a name that I've seen before here, but I don't know exactly what. I don't know what you guys blocked exactly or not. Yeah, WTWW sounds like an oldies station, kind of an oldies stations, or a actual station from back in that era. Miki Homage has Radio Guinea 9650 with African tunes roots. Let's just see if I can hear 9650. It's very weak. It's there, but it's weak. It's there, but it's weak. I got Greece with a very good signal on 9420. And look at that strong signal from Spain, 9690. Spain is killing it. It's just amazing. Spain is so amazing on 9690. Girolamo, it will be another day for the satellite. Next show Friday, come back on Friday, and we'll be back on that side, and we'll run the Grandic satellite. Yeah, it's a very relaxed, Frederick. It's very it's very relaxed. Absolutely. This is, we talk about different things. We diverge from one place to the other, but it's one of those great little relaxed crowd that's fun to be with. So. I remember Matt. Matt says his wife saw the Columbia reentry disaster and was so upset that she woke him up. I was feeling weird that day. I remember looking up in the sky and thinking, "Wow, what a weird thing." Keith Hales from the UK. Nice to have you on board, Keith. Oh, February. Yeah, it's February. It's not April. Thanks, Page Master. It was February 1st. I remember it was the 1st, but I thought it was April, but it was February 1st. Thanks. Yeah, Denmark. Absolutely. Denmark. I remember having one viewer from Iceland a while back. We had one viewer from Iceland. You know what? I should actually, Sheldon was telling me the other day, he says, all the viewers you have from all around the world, you should have a map and have a little something on the map with everybody that watch your show from every countries around the world. Because sometimes we have somebody that shows up from a country and we never hear from him or her again. But at least it was there once. But I remember there's somebody from Iceland once. There was a guy from Iceland a couple of months back. Matt says the problem is that he isn't in court. He was arrested almost 2 years ago now, but been out on bail, but no news about what he has to go back to court yet. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Simon Templar, nice to have you here, was a senior in high school and Challenger blew up. I was in my last year of high school when that happened. Brian Penny watched the lunar landing as a 10-year-old, but seeing Apollo 11 last week was awesome. I haven't seen it. I need to see the Apollo movie. Apparently, it's amazing. I gotta say. Sorry. Piper McCoy, nice to have you here. And yes, you are finally on the live broadcast. Cool to have you on board, my friend. Jeff King says, to the one who asked about the Texans and XH data, I don't have the XH data, but several Texan radios. Texans are great. Has a great support team, warranty problems taken care of here in the U.S. But the Texans are great. That's for sure. Challenger disaster was on January 8, 86. Yeah, because I remember one of the things about the Challenger disaster is that in the morning it was there was actually ice forming on the launch pad, and some of the engineers had told NASA that they were kind of not happy about maybe launching now. It was too cold, and it turned out that some of the problems there was. Some of that was founded. The fact that it was really cold that morning helped in the disaster. Johnny DXer 9690 Easy DX. Yep, absolutely. Wow, really, John Pigney? That's so sad when that happens. Homeowners Association here checks all around the house. They even complain about the 8.5-inch whip on the roof of my little subcompact car. Crazy. Piper McCoy, if you're talking about the old Grundig satellite transistor 6001, it's an amazing radio. Really an amazing radio. Hi, Mariamos says, thanks for doing these live broadcast videos. We really appreciate that you take time to do it. What a wonderful technological age we live in. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's really, really nice to have this possibility. I mean, I grew up, and we talk about it all the time. I grew up in the 80s when shortwave. There was a lot of stuff on shortwave. We didn't have a lot of information. I grew up in a time where it was difficult to get schedules, and if I wanted to know the frequencies of stations, one of the things in the 80s was just receiving the program schedule from the stations by mail. Then I actually found the Passport to World Band Radio. That was kind of a cool thing to have. But that was more in the early 90s that I found that. If I had the internet and all the information we've got now in the 80s when I was listening, I mean, wow, that would have been crazy. I would have had all the information of every station I could hear. Today, we don't realize it. And especially the younger generation that comes into the shortwave hobby, you just, you don't realize the fact that you today listen to a station on whatever frequency, go on the internet, and it's like, oh, it's, Spain on 9690. Yeah. But back in 1983 when I started, I had to tune. I had to wait sometimes for a really long time before I heard, oh, Radio Exterior de España. Oh, okay. It's Spain. The only way, you just listened in until the ID. And sometimes you were unlucky. There was a fade when the ID came through and you were like, this is radio, and you're like, radio what? I didn't hear a thing. It was all distorted. So, it is absolutely an amazing time. And like I always say, Sheldon was telling me, thank you so much for doing what you do. And a lot of you are saying, telling me that. Thanks for doing what you do because it adds to the pleasure of the radio hobby. You know, I always keep saying we do, and we actually have a hobby that keeps us very alone in our little world. We are in our shortwave bubble. Not a lot of us have anyone around us that actually does the same thing. So you end up in your man cave or woman cave. There are a couple of woman caves in there, and you listen alone to what you love because nobody cares about what you're doing. And this is the opportunity where all of us in our little spot, our little man cave, actually can share the love that we have for radio together. And this is, like you said, amazing moments. 2019, I mean, I wish somebody and some technology would exist in the 80s that would, you know, I would have watched, like you guys watch now, me. I would have been the guy watching that other guy from I don't know where, and be amazed that, oh wow, this is so fun. And that guy, it's a lot of fun because we listen to the radio together, we tune the bands together, and it's just a lot of fun. It's like the first time, I remember the first time I heard a DX show, a show about radio. Two things happened when I started listening to shortwave. There were two types of program that I was particularly fond of. I would note down the times and frequencies of every mailbag show on every station. Because for me, there was something amazing about the fact that I am not alone listening to shortwave. Because let's face it, okay? Of course we know other people are doing the same thing that we do. But let's face it, it feels like we're alone. And I remember the first mailbag show, and I think it was on WYFR, which was a religious station, but they had a mailbag show. And I remember listening to all these people around the world sending in reports saying that they're listening in. And I thought, this is so cool. I'm not alone. There's people everywhere around the world that are listening to shortwave. I'm not the only guy doing this in the world, you know. Then DX shows. The first ever DX show I heard in my life was the DX Party Line from ECJB. And let's go back in time a little bit for those that don't know what that was. Oh, I was uploading a video apparently here. So let's search for DX Party Line. DX Party Line Shortwave. HCJB. Let's just put more details here. HCJB. Or maybe I'm searching on my channel right now. Let's just go to the generic YouTube page. Here we go. And go to HCJB DX Party Line. Look at that. There's a beautiful guy with his YouTube shirt doing his live actually right now, apparently. And here we go. So there was, here it goes, DX Party Line from June 19th, 1984.
DX Party Line. This is a program for DXers by DXers and about the DXing hobby. We invite you to stay tuned for the next 30 minutes to the DX Party Line. Time for another Monday edition of the DX Party Line. I'm Clayton Howard, your host, and my wife Helen will be along a little later in the program. And this is rather a difficult or...
I actually have that goodbye card somewhere.
Because, as you may realize, some of you I'm sure have heard that we'll be leaving Keto soon. And this is the last time that we'll be hosting a DX Party Line. It's going to be hard for us. We're going to miss be on the air twice a week for DXers and shortwave listeners. But we do appreciate all the contacts we've made, all the friends, and your contribution and your letters and help. Well, that's enough of that type.
So that was the DX Party Line, which was a DX show. That's the first DX show I've heard. And they were giving tips and frequencies and times, and I was amazed, and I was taking notes until I realized someday that, you know what, I could use my boombox and just record the show. But I remember taking notes like crazy of all the stations and frequencies they were mentioning there and listening in. And this is cool because this is what we're all about. And today, it's so easy to find all that information. It's just so cool. You know? Just so cool. Like a ranting preacher fitting in and out on 9960, 9690. Really? You've got a preacher? Because there's, yeah. Because I've got Spain here on 9690. Kind of interesting. Hans, nice to have you here. EA5ITG. Pretty cool. Pepper McCoy says yes, like minus 6,000. Page Master, solid solid rocket boosters O-ring failed because of the cold weather there. Yeah. Take care, Medina Mike. It's nice to have you on board. The next show is next Friday, 2000 hours UTC. So let's go here. VA2XMX Pedro says you're coming at 5-9 here in Laval. Good strong signals this afternoon. 9955, yeah. 9955 is WRMI. Doesn't always come in here. Because 9955 is actually broadcasting south. So I rarely hear it really, really well. Johnny the Xer, don't burst my shortwave bubble. Radioactive NOAA weather bulletins in CW on 8640.5. Oh, cool. Oh, really? Station WHCF FM Bangor, Maine received in Ireland. Wow. Amazing. VA2XMS Petro says that when he tries to listen to anything shortwave, his wife and daughter say Daddy is listening to his noises. You know what? I feel for you. I listening to shortwave when I was young, and my brother was always telling me, "Oh, you're listening to the noises again." We're all, you know, that's what they tell us, you know. Bimaro Ammo says, on the subject of screaming preachers on shortwave, my favorite is Terry Blalock of the Full Gospel Hour. Oh yeah, that's the guy that really screams. He's actually funny. I remember making a recording and making everybody listen to it because everybody was just like laughing their head off. It's like, you know, the guy's really in it, I can tell you that. Yes, Hans, it is a great bubble together. Absolutely. Absolutely. Vancouver Island DXer, nice to have you on board. This morning you drove to Victoria to meet with 3 local medium wave shortwave DXers. Cool, not bad. You got some people there. You know, that's also one thing when I actually learned that radio clubs existed. When I heard, started in 82, my first radio club that I joined was in 84, and there was a Quebec French language radio club called the Club On Court du Québec, the COCQ. And I remember the first time that I had a bulletin, because they had sample bulletins they would send out. And I had no money. I mean, in '84, I was a student. I had zero money. So I was asking sample bulletins all the time. I was kind of a hog. And I remember one day, I got a little letter from one of the members there that said, look, I know you're a student, you don't have cash. I paid for a 1-year subscription for you. And I was like, oh wow, he paid for a 1-year subscription for me. This is so cool. And then, you know, became a member, and I was a member for several years. I actually had the DX column there. There was a log column. In the last few years where the club existed, I was the editor of the log column. But that club was really, really bad. The club itself was nice, but they were kind of hard. How to say it? The kind of guys that, you know, you got to speak perfect French. And my French language, speaking language is good, but writing French is tough. And I've never been really that good in writing French. And they were always, I would have some send me, the editors would send me the bulletin back and say, and put a little red mark under every, you know, spelling mistakes and so on. So after about 2 years, I was like, you know what? F you. This is a radio club. It's not a language club. And I was like, F you. You know, it's like, come on. And so I told everybody, I said, you know what? Take that log column and shove it up your butt. And by the way, I'm not going to renew my subscription. You guys are just idiots. And that's pretty much where I actually moved to the CIDX, the Canadian International DX Club, that I was off and on. But the clubs were nice because also the club had meetings. And in the clubs, you notice that some people are not very far from where you live. So you know that there's some radio guys around where you are. But man, that was nuts. And radio clubs is kind of nice. Then, of course, I learned of Popular Communications, Monitoring Times Magazine. Those were great. They had schedules. It was really cool. Of course, Passport to World Band Radio, the World Radio TV Handbook. So, you know. So, yeah, actually, it's the other way around. It's WIFR had the Okeechobee, Florida transmitter site. WRMI always was its own thing. What happened is WRMI actually purchased the Okeechobee transmitter site in Florida from WIFR. The exporting line was nice. Brian Pinney, the Pirate Radio Annual by Andrew Yoder has been released. Order, okay. Definitive Guide to Pirate Broadcasters. So, oh, this is nice. This is nice. I'm going to check that out. We're going to check that out. Absolutely. Lots of interesting stuff from pirate broadcasters. John Pickney says WIFR was originally WNYW and before that WRUL. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. My first QSL card from WIFR. No, I'm not going to be. I'm not going to have any monetization problem from showing another YouTube video for this for sure. Yep, Sweden calling the Xers. John Pinkney here. Look at that. Let's go back here and let's do Sweden calling the Xers. Anything there? Yep, 1980. Look at that, guys, 1980. Man, I feel like a shortwave guy from the 80s suddenly. Radio Sweden calling the Xers.
Welcome to edition number 1575 of Sweden Calling the Xers. And today's program was compiled with the help of 65 contributors. And this week we'll start off with some publications. First of all, Mickey Vasella has just published the third issue of External Services of African Stations. That's issued on a regular basis each March, May, September, and November as a free supplement for the subscribers to QTH Africa, which comes out every 10 days. External Services of African Stations is also available separately for 2 IRCs, and that's for airmail anywhere in the world. If you're interested, you could write to QTH Africa, Post Office Box 282.
Wow, amazing. Amazing. You can't pick up Spain and Alberta, Piper McCoy? Have you tried 12030, 9690, and 12030? Try both. Probably still not propagating to the west. Michael Almash has got recordings of the last shows of every DX Party Line host since 1972. Wow, including Brent Alfred that I used at this year's Winterfest trivia contest. No one got it right. The first time I listened to the DX Party Line was with Clayton Howard. He was the host. We just heard him in the DX Party Line that I posted there. He was the host back then. Is the first. Then there was John Beck. I believe John Beck took over after him. And then they had another show which was amateur radio. There was something about amateur radio. He had a show about amateur radio also with the DX Party Line. Oh yeah, Daryl 1903. I mean, the 10-meter band was always open in the 80s with the huge solar cycles we had. That was pretty amazing. Radioactive says, I'm not saying I'm listening to aliens, but I'm listening to aliens. Fastlow, nice to have you here, my friend. Hope you are well. Oh, man. Yeah, Spectrum Monitor is pretty good. Today, Spectrum Monitor is really, really good. Robert Proster, what's a newsstand? I remember going to the newsstand and bugging the guy there every month because I wanted to have my Computes Gazette for my Commodore computers. And I remember the guy being so annoyed at me for bugging him every day or 2 or 3 times a week with that. Oh, God. John Pickney says, in high school I was a member of the National Radio Club, International Radio Club of America, and American Shortwave Listeners Club. Later, he joined Speedex and got the bug again. Wow. Iridium Flare in Jill's office. Yeah. It must happen. It is a hobby. It's supposed to be a hobby. That's exactly right, John Pickney. I mean, come on, you know. Yep, it's true, William Helms. WRMI does have a video on YouTube with a tour of the station, which is huge. Huge. Radioactive says ID on CW is KPH San Francisco. Are they reactivated? Because KPH is reactivated from time to time. I was looking at something. I need to look at something here. Any of you guys, Night of Nights, the reactivation of maritime stations? I'm trying to, Night of Nights, maritime, shortwave. Let me just check it out. Night of Nights. Okay, from the Maritime Radio Historical Society. Okay, here there's an interesting thing. It says, notice resumption of service. KPH, KFS, and K6 KPH return to the air on our normal schedule. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Okay. And because there's the Night of Nights stuff. That's kind of nice when they reactivate all the maritime stations from that are gone. Matam Valley has 12695 KFS CW and USB. Let's tune that. Let's see. 12695 upper sideband. Anything here? Yep. CQ. CQ. From KPS. CQ from KPS. 12695 upper sideband. Pretty cool. Bonnie Moramo says the clips you played from DX Powerline in Sweden calling the X's are excellent blasts from the past. It's like time travel. Absolutely. I am also very thankful to people. You know what? One evening I wanted to feel nostalgic. I started searching on YouTube for everything shortwave from the past. And I heard great broadcasts from Radio RSA in South Africa, Radio Peking, before it was called China Radio International, and all of that. Oh, Mickey Dalmash, Ham Radio Today. Yes, with John Beck. Absolutely. Ham Radio Today. That was the name of the show. Thanks. Fast looking here to CW on 12695.5. Man. Yeah, but you know what? Monitoring times was very good. It was my personal favorite also, PageMaster. And Spectrum Monitors has the same feel. It's pretty much the same magazine. Actually, a lot of the editors from Monitoring Times are in Spectrum Monitor. So I feel that, except for the fact that you don't have a paper copy, I feel that Spectrum Monitor has the same feel as Monitoring Times. Yeah, simply, it's very difficult to explain the hobby. And I remember trying to explain this hobby to people and seeing them, like, you know, being bored. Like, after a couple of minutes, you're like, you know what? I'm just going to shut up because I'm boring you guys, you know? I can tell you that. Strong signal from Point Reyes, California, NMC on 12786. Piper McCoy, I can get Tibet, Kuwait, South America, and a bunch of others very far away, but never Europe or Russia for some reason. Yeah, well, there's not a lot of stuff out of Russia, I gotta say, but Europe, you should be able to hear a few things. Like, you know, Radio Romania should be one you could hear easily. Matt says he could see himself retiring with a few acres of antenna farm. Yeah. I could see myself also. You know? Atambali says KFS participates in the Night of Nights somewhere. I got a calendar. Hey Keegan, nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas. Shortwave magazine in the UK was pretty good too. Absolutely, that's true. Shortwave magazine out of the UK was good. Absolutely. Yes, Kevin Wood. What about Arnie Caro? Arnie Caro with his The Xers Unlimited show. That's always a nice show. Bullfrog 89 KD2CXU from Albany, New York. Nice to have you on board. No problem there. As they say, better late than never. Yeah, Page Master, you can get, if you want, you can buy just one magazine for, I think it's $3. At least get one magazine. If you don't want to subscribe because you're not sure, but Spectrum Monitor, if you like monitoring times, Spectrum Monitor, you will have the same feel. It's just that it's an electronic publication. Kevin Wood says, would haunt the local newsstand for the latest Popcom to see if anyone heard my parrot broadcast. Matt's got another ISS pass with another weak SSTV signal. Yeah. Oh, really, Piper McCoy? You cannot even get Romania. That's weird, because it does have a pretty good signal, usually. Huh, interesting. Okay, 13th of July. Thank you, Matambali. July 13th. Okay. I need to put that in my calendar. It's a lot of fun. Night of Nights, for those that don't know, is an event where old-time maritime stations that have gone off the air are operated for an evening. Operated for an evening by I've been distracted here, by amateur radio operators that take over the stations, and for an evening will broadcast like the good old days of maritime stations. It's kind of a nice thing because you have all of these stations that have gone, that for once a year, twice a year, rebroadcast. They broadcast for a few hours. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. You're not alone, Simplio. We all feel like we're boring people with our hobby. I can tell you that. The only ones not bored is us. It's UTC the 13th, so it's the 12th. UTC the 12th, so it's UTC the 13th. Sorry, so it's the 12th in North America. So that falls on what? That falls on a. Let me just go down to July. 13th is Saturday, so it's Friday evening. Friday evening, the July 12th in North America. So you might be able to do it, because your wife's birthday is the next day. Oh yeah, being boring by the Pet Shop Boys. I remember that song, Cosmic Lettuce. You know, look, everybody in whatever field, honestly, we're all going to be like that. I mean, you talk about shortwave to a non-shortwave person, probably going to bore the hell out of the person. You talk science, you know, Cosmic Lettuce, I'm sure, has great stories of talking about astronomy to people that just look at you like, what? Really? That's fun. Because they just don't understand. You know, when you got that gut feeling of something you love, you can't explain it. I mean, I cannot explain why I listened to a signal on radio one day when I was young and just thought, this is so cool. I'm receiving an invisible wave from another part of town, another part of... I remember one of the fun I had, because, you know, my friends had walkie-talkies, we would talk to each other. And I remember my fun was not to, I want to talk to you and you're like 10 feet away. My fun was, let's see how far we can go and still talk to each other. That was the fun. But you can't explain it. I can't explain why I like that. I can't explain why I love that. And yet, look at all the people around you that just listen to the radio every day. Don't even think about, even for a second, do you realize there's an antenna transmitting a signal that you can't see that's 50 miles away and you're getting it on your radio? How cool is that? They're just going to look at you like, yes, so? What the hell? Yeah, what the hell? It's amazing. And that, you just can't explain. You can't explain why you love, you know, Cosmic Lettuce cannot explain why he likes astronomy. He likes astronomy. He goes nuts about everything astronomy. I totally feel for that too, because I like astronomy. But at the core, inside, you don't know why you're hooked to something. You know, it's like a drug of some sort. I don't know. We got a shortwave drug, which is honestly a pretty good drug. You know, it can cost a lot of money, for sure, but we can't explain why we like and love something. It's personal. There's something in our brain that just goes like, oh wow, this is so cool. While others will look at it and say, this is the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life. You know, there's nothing we can explain about it, honestly. John Pickney says, the best pirate he's ever heard was the Voice of Communism, a parody of Radio Moscow. Its interval signal was the theme of the old Dennis the Menace TV show. I would have done that, but you know what I would have done? I would have played the Radio Moscow interval signal backwards. Maybe it's the same thing. That would have been nice. You play it backwards. It's like, wow, it's the same interval signal. Oh, man. Radio Havana, Cuba, 11760. Let's check that out. 11760. Look at how strong is Brazil. Radio Nacional de Brazil on 11780 is pretty good. Very, very good, honestly. So it's pretty cool. Rufus Newt says 11850 a week. Hans says 11760, 59 in Alicante. Page Master, my 7 favorite disciplines of science are as follows: astronomy, astrophysics, meteorology, ornithology, seismology, particle physics, and theoretical physics. I went to applied sciences in college, and I almost went into meteorology because I was fascinated. I was fascinated by the weather. I was the little kid that when a thunderstorm would show up in the summertime, when everybody was like, oh no, it's going to rain, I would look at the clouds and how dark they are. I would look at the winds and I would be amazed, and I would have probably made a great weather guy. I would have loved to, and I remember because I was in college in applied sciences, and there was a big poster, and Environment Canada was hiring. They call it Science of the Atmosphere or something like that. The program was Science of the Atmosphere, and they were hiring. They wanted to have people in their offices for everything meteorological, and I would have been. I would love that. I remember being fascinated, and I am still today fascinated by the weather. Honestly. Rufus Newt 11780. Cosmic Lettuce, yes, pure love. It is as simple as that. Pure love. You can't explain why though. You know you love it. You know it's what you want. You just can't explain it. You know. Matam Fasla says 11780 is S9. Matam Bali, how much in the S meter here? Pretty much S9 too, huh? With fades. Pretty much S9 on the RSP1A. What antenna are you using, Fast Load? Still that? Are you still using that 102-inch CB antenna? Matam Bali says, "Love me too, Joe. I entered college as a meteorology major, but switched to EECS a couple of years after." Kind of interesting. Hey there, Apple TV. Mick says, the thing about any good hobby is that you can enter it for a few quid and it can expand up costing thousands, but rich and poor can both understand one another and feel a kind of a kinship. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, shortwave hobby is more affordable than ever when you look at it, because the cheap radios of the 1970s and 80s were really bottom of the line, yet they were still, my DX100 is a crappy radio when you compare with what we have today. It made my time, but it was still $100, which is still a lot of money in 1982. And you think about it, and you have a Texan PL380 that costs $40, that beats the crap out of the DX100. And the fact that in 2019, $40 is not the same value of $40 in 1982. Which means everybody can kind of get into our hobby even more now than ever. And yes, like every hobby, anybody that has a hobby, whether it's sports, electronics of some sort, astronomy, you can get in it for not a lot of money if you want. Just look around. You can buy a used telescope, you can buy a used radio, you can buy for not much. But of course, like every hobby has its expensive side. You can get into the thousands of dollars easily to get into it really, really well. But that said, yep, everybody can be in it. And here, honestly, I had an email one day saying, you never talk about expensive radios really. You always talk about those cheap portables. And one of the things I replied back to the guy was, you know what? I want this to be for everyone. We can talk about expensive radios. I've got the expensive ICOM, and I've got a Yaesu FT450, and I do have expensive radios. But honestly, I want this to be as down to earth and easy to access to everybody. And if you get there and want more expensive stuff, we can talk about it. But it's part of having everybody enjoy the hobby. And what I especially don't want is somebody coming over here and saying, well, Texan radios are crappy and I've got that fancy Kenwood that I paid $3,000 for. And you're like, that type of thinking is, for me, kind of a little idiot, because you're kind of downgrading the people that have, less expensive receivers. They want to have as much fun as you. And I'm sorry, but not everybody has the cash to pay $3,000 for a radio. So everybody needs to feel the same here. If you've got a TVO V115 and you come here, well, I hope you're going to tune with us and have fun with us. Because for me, it's as important, and you're as important as Mr. Fancy, whoever, that has a $10,000 radio. Honestly. John Pickney says, DXing can unite generations. Favorite memory of my grandfather was the night we TV DXing. And for a while, the only signal was Channel 5 with a bad sci-fi movie that always faded at ID time. Oh, that's the worst part. It fades when it's ID time. Okay, 102 inch. I need to put mine back up and test it again. PageMaster says, I did about January through April of this year, Spectrum Monitor. Okay. Moramo says, for those who used to listen to Art Bell, it was on this day 1 year ago, he passed away. 1 year already. Wow. He was one of those guys that you hear all the time on AM. Rufus, we all suffer from here. Have every available radio. Keegan has CHU on 7850. Tambali says Colorado is quite the inspiration for meteorology. Weather changes is usually pretty rapid. Same here. Montreal is a great. Southern Quebec is a great place also for that. I mean, it could be -1 and snowing and 2 feet of snow and plus 15 the next day and sunny. It's just amazing. William Helms says, even if I could tune in Mars, like I'd get teased about, no one would know what they would say anyway, probably. It's like when one guy once posted a comment in my VHF channel and said, what's the use of posting a video of hearing just a noise from a satellite that's coming overhead? And you can't explain it. It's just that I am listening to a satellite in space that's over me. I don't care if I don't understand a thing. I don't care if it's just a digital noise that I can't decode. It's just that I am receiving a satellite from space. How cool that is. It's amazing, John Pickney says, Art used to often have Tom Nettle of CQ and Popcom in his show talking about shortwave and ham radio. Cool. Madame Bali, 11780, Radio Nacional Arizona, excellent S9. Hans as 7850 S8. Mick says we can now buy cheap, decent radios, cheap cameras that satisfy, and cheap binoculars that open up the skies, each of which can be upgraded. Yep. I mean, just a pair of binoculars can open up the sky in a way that you don't even imagine possible, John Pigney says, Art had an after show on net on 75 meters. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Pretty cool. Yeah, there's a lot of winds, fast load? I was looking at even the window here. The windows are pretty stable, but one of the windows seems to be kind of almost moving because of the strong winds. So if someone there are going to be people tonight that's going to have no electricity with those strong winds we're having for sure. Simplio says shortwave radio is shortwave radio from $10 to $3,000. Absolutely, absolutely. Rufus says love is tube shortwaves, don't need 3,000 receivers. Et voila. Hans is calling CQ on 7189. 99. I hear somebody. Radioactive says the thing about radios, whether it's cheap radio or an expensive radio, both will not receive well without the proper antenna. Absolutely. Absolutely. Choice what? 7180? 7180. There we go. 7180. Wave scan on WRMI 9955. I don't know, Matt. I can check, but I rarely get the ground wave or a little something out of it. 14670. I don't know. I don't hear a thing, that's for sure. So I know that yesterday it seemed off. So we have PageMaster says, I'm impressed with the spectrum monitor. It is broken up into its own sections. I love that. Yeah, it's a great magazine. Spectrum Monitor is and feels like monitoring times. Why does the S meter go up to S9 and then switch to dB? Hope that makes sense. It always been like that. S meter has the first part of the meter that has S units that I, off of memory, don't remember exactly. Each S unit has its own, from S1 to S2, it's there's a measure there. To S2 to S3, I don't know if somebody can get the details of the S units. And every S unit, every S meter, whatever radio you'll buy, at S9 it switches to dB. And then you'll have, so that's why you get reports of, sometimes you'll hear somebody say, hey, it's S9 plus 20. Because you're S9 plus 20 dB. All the S meters are like that on every radio. It is S1, 2, 3, 4 dBs, actually. S1, S2, S3. I'm kind of wondering. Let me just check that here. You sparked my curiosity in S meters. S meters. So, an S meter, according to Wikipedia. Okay. I hear you, Region 1 technical recommendations defines S9 for the HF band to be a receiver input power of minus 73 dBm. This is a level of 50 microvolts at the receiver's antenna input, assuming the impedance is 50 ohms. But on the VHF, so it differs depending on the VHF, HF. Oh, they got a nice chart. S1, 0.2 microvolts, RMS relative to 50 ohms. And the S2 is 0.4, and it doubles. S1 is 0.2 microvolts. S2 is at 0.4. S3 is 0.8. S4 is 1.6. If you look at the dBm, or dB above microvolt, minus 14, minus 8, minus 2, 4, 10, 16. That's interesting. S9 is 34 dB. And S9 plus 10 is 44 dB. So S9, S9 is 34 dB above 1 microvolt. And so when you say S9 plus 10 is 44, it's 34 plus 10. So that's why they had the dB. S9 plus 20 will be 54 because it's 34 plus 20. Oh, this is interesting. I need to read this and learn more. An analog S meter are actually sensitive microammeters with a full scale deflection of 50 to 100 microamps. In AM receivers, the S meter can be connected to the main detector or use a separate detector at the final IF stage. This is the preferred method for CW and SSB receivers. Another approach in the days of electronic tubes valves was to connect the S meter to the screen grid circuit of the final IF amplifier tube. Huh, this is interesting. Okay. Well, this comes from far away. In 1930s, it was already agreed that S9 corresponds to 50 microvolts at the input terminal of the receiver. Oh, this is nice. Okay. We are learning S meters. It's kind of interesting here. We're learning stuff. 5 dB per S meter step. Oh no, you're totally right on that, Matt. S meters of almost anything that people use are probably not calibrated at all. I've had so many receivers. There's so many receivers that I've had that the S meter is actually way too sensitive. It's showing a much better signal than the reality. And I've had a lot of, especially the digital S meters. You know what? The analog S meters on receivers seems to be better calibrated on a lot of radios than the digital S meters we have today with little bars in the LCD display. These seem to be way out of whack and way too sensitive. I mean, you get the full meter and it's like, no, this is not a full meter signal. This is wrong. And also, the problem with the digital S meters on the LCD displays today, you don't really know what is what. It's like a ton of bars, and you're like, what is that? You know? Not counting for the radios that have the noise ratio signal meters that was like, everybody looks at it and says, what the hell did that mean? But yes, even on analog meters with you know, a needle, a lot of radios are actually not calibrated and don't show the correct measure. So yeah, it's 6. You're right, Matambali, because S1 is minus 121 dBm. Then S2 is minus 115, 19, 103. It's, yeah, the scale is 6 dB per S units. So every S unit, you're getting 6 dBm. When you're at S9, you're at minus 73 dBm. And if you play it at dB above 1 microvolts, which extends the scale, you're starting at S1 at minus 14 dB. When you're at S9, you're at 34 dB, and then you have the plus 10, plus 20, plus 60. Very technical, but very interesting. Sorry, guys. Yeah, the guys at WikiLeaks got arrested, JRDX. Absolutely. Julian Assange. Roughest Newt. The ears are the best S meter. Oh, you know, the best S meter is, oh, I can actually listen to the program today. That's the S meter. Radioactive. When was the last time we've used an antenna which was actually at 50? Well, technically it should be, because all of these big gun radios, the inputs are 50 ohms for HF. Amateur radio transceivers have a 50 ohm input, so technically all of these should match 50. In reception, if you mismatch, it's not that much of a problem. You do lose some signals. In transmission, you need to match, because if you mismatch, you're losing tons of that power in that mismatch. But you know, and I think that depending on the like you guys are saying, on the frequency you're using, it changes for sure. And reception, absolutely. In reception, we're probably all in receptions. All the you know, even if they don't, you know, I don't think I've got 50 ohms here. I mean, the line's 50 ohm, and the way that I'm set up probably is not matching. And reception, actually, most of us don't look at that much, honestly. So we're probably all mismatched somehow. You know, some guys use cable coax, which is 75. And you know, there's a mismatch there for sure, you know. Matambali, my ear is calibrated to can't hear it, sort of hear it, can hear it. That's our own brain and ear S meters. Oh man, pretty amazing. Page Master, think the S meters as the seismograph of radio. Yep, pretty sure. Pretty good. So, did you get the last ISS pass? Sounded good on the R30, just have to decode it. Oh, I didn't check it at all. Pirate Stations, 6950. 6950. So anyways, Cosmic Lattice, it's... I think I hear a very faint something on 6950, but I'm not sure. By the way, guys, I'm about to say goodbye for tonight. I'm a little tired, and I want to take some time, but I'm just going to post for those that want to help out in any ways. The PayPal, so you can do a little donation if you like what I do, and if you liked today's show. I'm going to go off and cook my food. I'm hungry. I'm a little tired. I'll take it easy for tonight. Listen to the radio. I want to thank everybody for being here. It was a lot of fun, as always. And we'll be back Friday, Friday, April 19th at 2000 UTC. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. It was a lot of fun to do. And thanks everyone for being great fans. Without you guys, there would be no shows. So thanks everybody, and stay safe. Have a great Saturday evening, night, and so on. Have a great Sunday. Don't forget, tomorrow, International Radio Report on CKUT.ca, CKUT.ca, and 90.3 FM in Montreal. And take care, my friends. Always a lot of fun to be here. Stay safe. And next Friday we'll have another great show. Talk about radio. Stay safe, my friends, and have fun with your radios. Okay? You got a radio, you got to tune it. There's really nothing in a radio that doesn't, nobody use. Stay safe, my friends.